In my last video, I talked about why I expect the Nikon ZR to sort of change the ranking of the camera brand in the market. I expect the Nikon ZR to be the starting point, first time after the Z9, to create enough of an impact in the market that Nikon will be pushed to the number 2 position. That's my expectation. And so today I thought it's a great idea to actually talk about what my expectations are from the Nikon ZR, because if the ZR is to do that for Nikon, I think Nikon should build in a few features that's going to give Nikon's first cinema line camera enough credibility. So the first thing is, the fact is that Nikon can do 12-bit internal, it can do ProRes RAW, it can do ProRes HQ. So all these cameras can handle very high bitrate recording. But surprisingly, the H.265 files actually are 10-bit 420. I would like Nikon to add 10-bit 422 for the Nikon ZR. That's essential. I get a lot of comments on my channel about when Nikon is going to push an update to give these cameras 10-bit 422. You get that as standard for Sony, for Canon, and Lumix. Also for Fuji for a long time now. So I think it's a very normal expectation for the Nikon users to have access to 10-bit 422 if they do not want to use ProRes HQ, which is a higher, sort of, I would say a heavier file, or not to go for RAW, even if we are talking about the moderate RAW option in Nikon. I think 10-bit 422 is going to be very important and going to be a very welcome change in the Nikon codecs that we have currently. The second thing is, can the IBIS be smoother? I'm not talking about the brute force of better stabilization. I'm talking about a more well-rounded, a smoother stabilizing system inside the camera. That can be done with the mechanical stabilization being a bit better. It can be done with a better pairing of the mechanical stabilization with minimum crop, let's say 10% crop. Panasonic, Lumix have showed the way with their cropless IBIS. They're using E stabilization along with their mechanical stabilization in a way that sort of, you take care of the wobbling in the frame, especially on wide angle lenses, but then overall you get a much pleasing image, much better looking sort of footage, which is a great combination of how the jitteriness of the footage is sort of taken care of, but at the same time there is this organic movement that you see, which mechanical IBIS typically gives you. That gives you a sense of organic sort of handheld movement without sterilizing the image. I have my notes here. I think that's going to be a very welcome addition to the camera. Third, at this point, I'm not expecting one thing to happen in the Nikon ZR, and that is dual card recording. I think that's a hardware limitation imposed by the XPeed 7 processor. I think maybe when Nikon launches the XPeed 8 processor, or if Nikon comes with dual XPeed processors, we may see dual card recording, especially in video. I'm not expecting dual card recording even for the Nikon ZR, but I am definitely expecting Nikon to allow us to use LUTs or .q files on the ZR as preview. So when I'm shooting with N-Log or N-Log 2 when ZR comes out, I'm pretty sure N-Log 2 will be out. I think users should be able to sort of monitor the footage real time with color that almost approximated typical color grading in the post. I think we should be able to preview how the log file will typically look after a standard grade. So therefore, I am expecting Nikon to allow users to upload their own .cube LUTs to the ZR and preview live in camera. The fourth point, it may sound like a very non-essential thing, but in today's day and age, I think the product review mode is going to come in handy in many situations where you're detecting a subject, let's say a person, but the person is holding up a thing in front of you. And you don't always want the subject to hide their eyes in order to focus on a subject like this. So I think even on a cinema camera, I would want to have the product review mode especially when I know that I want to shift focus to an object or something that the subject is holding up to the camera. I think that's going to be important. It just better workflow. It makes for easier operation of the camera. I think that's going to be important. Now I have a few extra things that I think Nikon can throw in as bonus features. For example, why not offer accessories like a dedicated top handle built especially for the Nikon ZR? I mean, they can tie up with small rig and get that done. I want to see that Nikon gives you enough sort of mounts and ports on top of the camera. Reference an image from the Sony FX3 or FX30 bodies, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I think that's going to be very, very handy for the Nikon ZR to have. Also, well, it's a bit of a wishful thinking, but I do wish to have a digital ND filter, in-camera ND filter in some Nikon camera, and I do think that ZR is a great opportunity. I don't think we're going to get that, but if we get lucky on that front, it's going to be very interesting. So these are my top level. These are the 3, 4, 5 things that I think Nikon should add on to the Nikon ZR, and if they do, the ZR is going to be a fantastic camera. Additionally, I do think that Nikon should also learn from what Lumix has done with the S1 II and give us a mode where you're reading the sensor a bit slower, but you're sort of taking a bit more out of the sensor. I also really like the way the S1 II has managed the crop for 4K 120. We don't need to get into full APS-C mode, so I expect the ZR to sort of manage the crop better and probably give us cinema scope, or even 17:9, 16:9 even, I would say, and sort of not give us an APS-C crop and manage the output like that. I absolutely love the output of the Nikon Z6 III when it comes to 1080 240p shooting. It is one of the sharpest 240p 1080 from any mirrorless camera, and I do think there is scope for Nikon to go up to 2K, something that we have seen the Canon R5 II do. Since the 1K or 1080 240 is already so sharp, I think Nikon can try giving us something like 2K 180 frames a second, or even 2K 240 frames a second, if that's possible. I think that's going to make things very interesting for a lot of people. So these are some additional items on the wish list. Let me know what you think. But I think if Nikon hits the market with this version of the ZR, it's going to really take Nikon to the next position in the market. Help this channel grow to 10,000 subscribers. So like this video, and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to see you soon with another one. Let me know what you see, what you want to see more on this channel. We're going to keep the conversation going. See you with the next one.